Is it recording from your end?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So if I understood Doctor very well, she mentioned that we have to probably just do a PowerPoint presentation and then we share while we talk or explain our capstone project. So I'm just going to start with this by sharing my screen. Can you all see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. So basically, my presentation starts now. Okay, so my capstone project is based on the topic internet pornography, a rising problem among the youth in the Upper East region of Ghana, and the way forward. For my introduction, I picked up on the problem prevalence and its importance, why I am actually picking up this. And so internet pornography or online sexual behaviors like sexting, viewing pornography online, and using the internet to start relationships are increasingly common among adolescents. From the Watchtower magazine, we are told that pornographic materials are widespread and they are in diverse forms. Most times they can be found in advertisements, fashion, movies, music, and magazines, as well as on televisions, video games, smartphones, mobile devices, websites, and now online photo sharing devices. International research suggests that encounters with internet pornography are more prevalent among boys than girls, and boys are more likely to report intentionally seeking internet pornography more regularly and from a very young age. As a result of that, my thesis statement is pornography, which is a growing problem among the youth, interferes with young people's ability to discern their vocation. And the way to combat this problem is through chastity formation. My target population is the youth, which is 30 years and below, of the Upper East region, which also happens to be the Navrongo-Bolgatanga diocese. Statistics around the world show that youngsters are the leading consumers of pornography, as Flood and Hamilton states in their research article. In a survey carried out among some youth with ages below 30 years in Ghana, out of 200 respondents, 194, representing 97%, had used pornographic material before, whereas only 3% had never used pornographic material. Now, my findings. My findings indicate that pornography use has a lot of negative effects, or negative physical effects and negative spiritual effects. For the physical effects, it impacts negatively on the brain. Pornography use also leads to addiction. It impacts how the youth see the opposite sex. It impacts interpersonal relationships. And when we come to the spiritual effects of pornography, it impacts the process of discernment. It also impacts the discernment itself. Now, my implementation plan is I intend to use a quasi-experimental research design. This is a research design conducted to evaluate the effectiveness of a treatment, perhaps a type of psychotherapy or an educational intervention. And I see this more with the workshops as a form of educational intervention. In week 4 of my plan, we will split into 2 groups where some will go through chastity formation while the others will not go through that. A series of hourly 5 weekly workshops organized for the youth in the Upper East region of Ghana is part of my implementation plan. In week 1, we will basically treat the scope of the problem and the need to do something about it. In week 2, we will be talking about pornographic use and its physical effects. In week 3, we will be talking about pornographic use and its spiritual effects. Week 4, we'll be talking about the way forward, which has to do with chastity formation as my proposition. And then week 5 will be evaluation of the outcome of chastity formation. I intend to use a randomized control trial to examine the effects of pornography on the youth. This will be done through a questionnaire. The first part of the questionnaire will be more of a quantitative questions, and the second part will be more qualitative questions. My evaluation plan, as I said, examples of the quantitative questions will be, have you ever viewed pornography? Yes or no? If yes, at what age do you remember seeing your first pornographic video or image? Is it from 7 to 9 years, 10 to 19, 20 to 29? Question 3 will be, do you still watch pornography? Yes or no? How often do you watch pornography? Daily, weekly, monthly, rarely, or never? Question 5 will be, do you feel you are addicted to watching pornography? Question 6 will be, has pornography viewing affected you negatively? Yes or no? Question 7 will be, do you think pornography makes you see women as objects of gratification? Yes or no? Question 8 will be, do you think viewing pornography influences your behavior negatively? Yes or no? Do you think viewing pornography can influence your discernment? Yes or no? Have you heard of chastity formation? Yes or no? Do you think chastity formation can help you stop watching pornography? Yes or no? Has chastity formation helped you in fighting viewing pornography? Yes or no? Would you recommend chastity formation to anyone addicted to pornography? Yes or no? For my qualitative questions, I would ask in the questionnaire, do you believe that viewing pornography affects your spiritual and moral life? If so, how? What do you think is the best way to address pornography addiction? Question 3, do you want to fight the desire to use pornography? If so, what do you think are the best ways? Question 4, what has pornography use been like for you? Question 5, has your pornography use affected your relationship and or family life? If so, how? 6, if this workshop has impacted your fight against pornography, please describe. So these are my evaluation plans. For my conclusion, I want to say categorically that internet pornography is a rising problem among the youth. I also state that if it affects the youth negatively, both physical and spiritual, then I say also that the way forward in combating this is through chastity formation. Chastity is a virtue that helps us to achieve purity of mind and body by using our sexuality the way God intended it to. And this can be found in a website I got from the St. Cloud Diocese. The meta model identifies the advantages of an integrated view of the virtues in facing difficulty, frailty, sin, and vice, while respecting normative human nature and duty, the dignity and uniqueness of each person, the differences of the sexes, the common good, and the movement of grace. The person flourishes through the virtues, as quoted by Titus and et al. And my last slides has to do with the references I used as I made this presentation. Thank you very much. Are there questions or clarifications that anyone wishes to clarify?
Father, I think it was a great presentation. I think it was well organized, and I understood beginning to end how it transitioned from the question to your conclusion.
Thank you.
But I also think the presentation is well done. It's organized, it's relevant because, in fact, just recently I was talking to one of the youths and he was telling me he's seriously addicted in pornography. He's a seminarian, unfortunately. So I think your topic is relevant and it would be good that you engage the young people. Being that you are a chaplain, it's necessary that you start putting into practice that.
Thank you very much,
Thank you.
sister.
Okay, should I present?
All right, so who's going next?
I'll go next. Father, I can't present. It says the host disable attendee screen sharing. Would you be able to
Okay, let me
allow
see
us
how
to
that
present?
works. Okay, I've seen it.
See that? Great. Thank you.
All right. Sorry.
No problem. Can you see my presentation?
Not yet.
Do you see?
Okay, finally.
Not yet.
Mm.
Not yet. Okay. Give me a second. You see it now? You do? Not yet. You can?
Yes,
I can't hear you.
I can see it.
Yes. Okay. Great. Okay. So my presentation is about servant leadership and webinar for priests. So welcome to the presentation. There are a lot of leadership challenges faced by the Catholic priest today due to the many challenges of the changes in role of society and different things that have been happening. So my research question is, does a 1 hour servant leadership webinar positively impact self-perceived leadership efficacy among priests serving in a parish in Los Angeles? So the problem prevalence and importance. 86% of respondents in a global survey acknowledge that there's a leadership crisis in general in every industry, but religious organizations are reporting the lowest level of confidence. That means that they feel like there is a greater need. Many of the times priests are not adequately trained in leadership during seminary, and they still have to face all these challenges when they come out and they are out here dealing with the everyday problems, right? leadership development is crucial for the health of the parishes, to continue the evangelization and for salvation of souls, but also for the priests specifically, for them and how they experience it, and how they experience also stress and burnout. So enhancing their self-perceived leadership efficacy through intervention is expected to directly impact this leadership style and management and the relationships with their parishes and with their bishops also, and parishioners, and themselves with God, right? The target population is priests, right? And they, based on the research, they range widely by age. So I have picked from early adulthood to late adulthood, and a survey done here in the US says that the average age of priest is 63 years. So priests of all ages have to deal with the same issues, and they have to adapt differently. So it's a wide target population that we are dealing with here. Okay, the motivation, risk, and resilience. Risk factors: lack of leadership, right? Unrealistic expectations, stress and burnout, loneliness, and emotional exhaustion. Those are the risk factors. The protective factors are leadership training, strong interpersonal relationships, and a strong relationship with God and prayer. Strengthening these protective factors and minimizing the risk factors will significantly improve a clergy's occupational health. Okay. Implementation plan. So the implementation plan, as I mentioned, is a 1-hour webinar. This would be ideally done during the weekday and in the evening when priests don't have, mass in the weekends or have other things they need to do. A lot of them are administrators, so during the day they're doing a lot of that administrative duty. So it's meant to be done at their location. It's meant to be done at a reasonable time so that it's reasonable to add, and it's not an additional burden. The location, again, it's a Zoom meeting. It's interactive. It'll have video, slides, different elements. The assessment tool will be a pre and post webinar survey, and we would ideally do the servant leadership assessment instrument, which covers a very varied servant leadership attitudes and behaviors. The target audience, again, priests in the Los Angeles area. The implementation timeline would be 1 week before. We would be doing the registration and the survey to assess the baseline leadership efficacy, right, to see where they're at. It would also give us time to do finalized materials, do the workbook, send all that information and get that information ready. The day of the webinar, we will start with an introduction, a prayer, or review of the agenda, present leadership concepts and principles, discuss case studies, do things like that, interactive questions and answers, and then conclude with summary points, next steps, and a closing prayer. That's what the day of the webinar would be looking like. Additionally, post-webinar, we would be then sending out the follow-up email with all the information we gave out at the webinar, and then the survey, again, to measure that change, the change in the perceived leadership efficacy from before and after the webinar. And then additional materials. Leadership is a concept that we've been learning in class. Is very extensive, so they wouldn't learn it in an hour, but additional maybe classes or additional resources would be provided for them if they asked. And then 1 week after, ideally, we would review the responses and assess the impact of the training, and maybe even do a post follow-up, several follow-ups in maybe the few months ahead, a year ahead, to see if some of those leadership concepts they learned actually helped in the ways we think they would, right? The evaluation plan, it's focuses on measuring, again, the impact of the self-perceived leadership efficacy. So the instrument that we used was the SLA, the Servant Leadership Assessment Instrument. We did a quasi-experimental design without random assignment, the pre-test, post-test structure. This survey, or the assessment, has 7 constructs of leadership that we are going to be measuring pre and post. And we're using a mixed method evaluation, which we're using quantitative and qualitative data. So our questions do include the quantitative, which we're going to be looking for those more numbers, and then the qualitative, which we're going to try to see what they experimented and what change they experimented in after the seminar. In conclusion, so the main goal was to increase self-perceived leadership efficacy, to increase the priest's confidence, stronger community relationships, enhance management, and eventually reduce stress and burnout through these enhanced leadership skills that they perceive they have, right? The scalability of the project is that it could be implemented in other dioceses due to that there's a lot, these issues are prevalent, everywhere, and the structure of the church, right? It's similar all over the world, and also because of its nature, quasi-experimental nature. Should be easy to take somewhere else. However, we still have to take a look into those contexts, right? The different cultures and the different situations to make sure that if it's going to be replicated, that is properly replicated elsewhere. Okay, and lastly, I just wanted to end up with the quote. So the facilitation of strong leadership, prudent management, and dedication and committed service are required for a church to remain dynamic, life-giving body of Christ. So that's why I think it's important that we have that, something like that, of training for priests that is ongoing. And lastly, references for the research. And any questions?
Well, Lorena, thank you so much for this beautiful presentation. I'm really happy that you are tackling this particular topic on leadership among the priests. I've over the years realized that by virtue of going through seminary training does not automatically make you a leader. You still have to learn to become a good leader to the flock you are entrusted to in ministry. So thank you so much. And just putting up a lot of details really helped me see a lot of what you are doing. So thank you. And I think it's worth it.
Thank you, Father.
I would also echo the same. I mean, we have tackled a very important area in terms of leadership, because to many of us, we take it for granted that some of us were born leaders, others were not born leaders. So we just lead in the best way possible that you know. But actually, there are things that we miss out. And so what you have tackled, I think, is very important. So thank you for that presentation. In fact, it's not only for priests, but we also religious are included. Some of us are workaholic, so we continue working and working.
Yeah. Yes, you're right, sister.
Okay. Now I am getting a message here that says your meeting will end in 10 minutes. Are you getting the same message from your end?
Yes. 6:20. Now it's 6 minutes.
Yes. It's actually remaining six minutes.
Yes. So can I propose that we just cut this call and then start afresh for sister to record? So at least it means
I
we are
think
going to
so.
have 2 links instead.
Okay.
Yes, absolutely.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll see you in a bit.
All right. And it's
Okay.
the same link. I mean, it's the same meeting room we are using.
Okay.
All right.
Thank
Thank you.